Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, 1000 Week Reich as the State of Israel. Now, last time we were here together, we forced through a series of education reforms into our nation to try to get our education caught up into the 20th century instead of a second century where it sounds like it was at. Maybe the 12th century, if we want to be generous. Unfortunately, that kind of forced our coalition to collapse. But fortunately for Mr. Ben-Gurion, that allowed him to retire. Now we have Miss Golda Meir leading us. There is no pretension about Golda Meir, a woman whose iron will is as sturdy as the stones in the walls of Jerusalem. Such resolve is born from hardship, and Golda Meir's life has been no stranger to it. Born in 1898 in downtown Kiev, then a part of the Russian Empire, she faced threats of pogroms and extremely anti-Semitic environment. When she joined her father in America, she quickly developed a taste of leadership, becoming a proponent of labor Zionist movement with the intent of making Aliyah in 1917 only be stopped by America's entry into World War I. In 1921, Meir and her husband moved to Palestine, quickly rising through the ranks of the Mapai. In 1938, she found herself as a Jewish observer to Palestine at the Evian Conference in the U.S., discussing the question of Jewish refugees fleeing from the Nazis to no avail. Following Germany's victory, Meir's pragmatism is hardened into a fierce determination that taught her that Jews could not rely on anyone else but themselves, representing Israel's defiant spirit, ensuring that the new state's coffers are filled, its infrastructure built, and its morale fueled. Golda Meir is not the same naive woman that met with Abdullah at Nahariam at the eve of the war. To Israelis, the Iron Lady offers no grand ideologies, only the promise of stubborn survival. Her leadership is a statement that this land, bought with so much blood and toil, will be defended with everything they have. Above all, she will ensure one thing: there will be no second exile. Fingers crossed. I feel better about the state of our military, though. So I think we might have a shot. So let's get working. Let's get our timer going. And let's get this kicked off. How is our logistics coming around? We're coming out. We're doing better on support and infantry equipment. We're still poor behind on anti-tank, though. Well, let's launch a reprisal at once. It's the Fedayeen. And it looks like the reformism doesn't seem to matter anymore. While the old guard of Yeshuv mostly hails from the old days of the Poal Zion and Hoshimir in Europe, the recent waves of Mizrahi refugees from the Muslim world have begun to shift the political landscape. While the majority of these refugees coming from conservative religious backgrounds, many have begun to flock to religious parties, boosting their numbers and influence and threatening to upset the current labor Zionist hegemony. The beginning of a large shift. Well, luckily we can only put the Iranians into the periphery, so we will go ahead and do that right now. To the desert you go. Election season is fast approaching, and with the rapidly shifting demographics and voter bases, simply the clout of Mapai is not enough to secure our electoral success anymore. On the left, Arab turnout is expected to drastically increase from the last election, while the non-Zionist Maki expect to gain much support, while on the right, religious Mizrahi refugees arriving in huge numbers, boosting the religious parties. In the center of the stage stands Mapai, at the risk of losing its dominance as the largest party. As such, many ideas for new campaign pushes have been presented. We must choose wisely, thinking not only our own party, but also potential coalition partners and enemies. Take the safest train. So we could siphon support from Mapam, but we could a coalition from Mapam. We could siphon support from the liberal parties. And that could potentially be powerful. We could launch a campaign to attempt mobilizing increasing Arab turnout in our favor. Which might not be a... That doesn't seem like something great. Or we could launch a broad campaign to display our administration's success. That's going to be 6% total boosting us. And that would probably take away from everyone semi-reasonably. I think we take the safest train. I think that is the safest option. How's that making us look right now? Yeah, alright. I'm okay with that, I think. Let's work on a military-industrial complex. Old Dwight Eisenhower is having a aneurysm at the idea of this, but what are we going to do? The lessons of war hold strong in the minds of our people. Therefore, we cannot just rely solely on the goodwill of other nations like America. Instead, we must channel our finest scientific minds into advanced weapons, ensuring that our army will always be one step ahead of our adversaries. I like it. Well, we got a Simpson in the White House now. Or not the White House, the UN. I assume when I see these flags, it's German, Polish, Israeli, Italian, and also, okay, that kind of makes me think otherwise. Okay. Let's get Levi Cohen. Have them build an Intel network. And we'll have them run counterintelligence in Israel. Okay, we have 25 days until Election Day. I'm expecting more potential events to pop up. I don't know whether they'll help or hurt us, but I'm expecting something or other. Let's go working on the new medical stuff. The UK is really chilling with their new holdings, aren't they? Did they? No, they did not end up getting a focus tree. That's sad. I feel bad for them. I really do. Let's get working on artillery. I think that's going to be a pretty big need for our economy coming up. Expand our textile industry. I think that's probably a good play. We could establish the Bank of Israel. Well, let's focus on some of the raw economic stuff currently. We have a decent... I don't like how it's spread out all the way, so I have to scroll or zoom out fully. If I have to give a criticism, that's probably it. But let's what's our consumer goods at again? It's at 50%. Is that even doing much for us at this point, though? Not really. No. Yeah, that doesn't really affect us too much. I'll do light upon the nation so we can get that political power, help expand out our land. Yeah, light upon the nations. For as long as our people have existed, we've always meant to be a light upon the nations, a beacon of moral guidance for the world to follow. Our nation may be small compared to the major powers of the day, but we are a defiant homeland of the all Jews, one that can withstand the threats of the Arab world, while also forming symbol of resistance against the Germans. Who our friends or even just temporary allies are will define the future of Israel. That's all probably very fair and reasonable to start considering. We have the Chinese peace doctrine going, very nice. Burmese peacekeeping missions. Oh, America's going up against Norway, very nice. Alright, the day has finally arrived after months of campaigning. The people of the Knesset will head to the polls to cast their votes for the next Knesset results. With rapidly shifting demographics and voter base, the results of his elections are anyone's guess. Democracy in action. Alright, let's try to form a government. Mapam. Invite the progressives. Let's invite Mapam. Yeah, I think this will do, honestly. Let's form that government. The workers will vote as such. An historic reconciliation that will surely shift Israeli politics. The Left Front coalition of Mapai and Mapam has set aside their differences to form a united front against an increasingly right-wing opposition. Two parties almost holding a majority in the Knesset, the progressives have also joined the coalition. Well, they do hold a majority anyway, but let's get the progressives in there. That seems fun. Despite this, the new coalition is not without its problems. With historic tensions between the two parties still visible, especially on issues of security and foreign policy, still the new government under Prime Minister Golda Meir presents a historic opportunity for leftist parties to together shape Israel in their vision, much to the dismay of the religious and conservative parties now relegated to the opposition. Well, ha-de ha-ha. There we are, the Iron Lady. Following the resignation of Ben-Gurion, there was much speculation and competition over who would succeed him as leader of Mapai and of Israel. Now the answer has become clear as Golda Meir, the Iron Lady, has risen to power, securing her position as the head of the party. Representing the more hawkish faction of Mapai, she's in many ways expected to lead a continuation of Ben-Gurion's legacy, rather than a significant change in direction or on foreign policy. There we go. I'm content with this. I am. Are we? Oh, no, we are. Those are Marxist, Leninist, Revolutionary, Communist. Okay. Well, this is interesting because it doesn't look like we can do anything now for our neighbors, is it? Okay. Alright, well, we'll get our political power. We'll go ahead and we will use that Let's get some development towns going. Well, with the inauguration of the Second Knesset, the question of the presidency has come up once again. As a larger ceremonial role, president is elected by the Knesset. The current position's term is bound to be the Knesset's term as well. With the current incumbent Yitzhak Ben-Levi having been elected largely without any contest, many have begun to question whether Ben-Levi should be re-elected for a second term if a new candidate should be found. Long being close friend of former Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, Yitzhak Ben-Levi is a likely choice for re-election candidate of the left, supported by Mapai as well as progressives in some portions of Mapam, but our first choice. Despite this, there remains some opposition. The option of supporting a populist leftist figure, such as the provisional government minister Yitzhak Grunbaum, as a candidate of the left front, to attempt to further the cooperation between Mapai and Mapam, despite some claiming that this will lead to the politicization of the ceremonial office. On the right, Mafdal has put forward their own Mordecai Nurok, sorted by Harut and the RTF. The General Zionists have yet to endorse any candidate, but will probably support Ben-Zvi if we choose to run him as part of our coalition. Yeah, let's just roll with Ben-Zvi. We don't need to do anything too crazy there. Let's put our eyes to the west. A world overshadowed by Nazi triumph in Europe, our alliances are a matter of survival, not just preference, letting Washington or democratic lifelines. Yet our relations are strained due to the insurgency, and their powers checked by a hostile continent. Let's walk a fine line, embracing the West's support without becoming a target for the vengeance of the Germans. Well, about that. Are you guys going to have elections at all? Or what? Having won the Knesset's vote to become the next president, Yitzhak Ben-Zvi has been sworn as the nation's second president. Despite this, Vanessa has realized the impracticability of electing a president once per session, and has revised her presidency law to state that each president will be elected for a 7-year term. Congratulations, Mr. President. Alright. Well, let's send these guys to Yafo. See how they like that. Indian support from Mapam. As part of our new diplomatic openings from India, Mapam has recently received donations for money campaigning materials from Indian sources. We cannot confirm whether this is from the Indian government itself, but it's likely, given the recent diplomatic overtures between our two nations. A nice gift from our new friends. I'll take it, I suppose. No need to be hostile. Europe. The continent where most Jews found their home and their closest friends. Yet the continent that continually betrayed and slaughtered us. As the black tide spread across the continent, the masses were indifferent to our plight, often turning a blind eye to the horrors we faced. Britain, our former colonial oppressors, blocked our people from fleeing Europe and actively aided our enemies in our war of independence. The United States chose to sit back and watch as the Germans conquered country after country, never lifting a finger to help us. Now the monster of Europe has fallen. Perhaps we can forgive the Western allies who, despite their flaws, finally brought down Hitler's monstrous reign of terror. With the rise of a new order in Europe, we must ensure the safe passage of all Jewish refugees to our new homeland. There is no place for us in Europe, not after what they've done to us. Never forget. Never forgive. Well, let's go ahead. Let's look towards making friends with the British. Many in Israel have had complicated thoughts about Britain. On one hand, many still see us as our colonizer, a power that worked against their own self-interest for their own imperialist tendencies. Yet some see them as a useful ally in an uncertain world, one where the Union Jack and the Star of David may be able to stand hand in hand. I don't see why we can't cooperate with them personally. I think it's probably a necessity, honestly, at this point. Let's get working on concentrated industry again. Interesting that Perm is going after, or the Soviets are going after Ukraine before they're going after the rest of Russia. Well, we have to send them to development towns anyway, so makes sense. The former enemy. Alright, let's get working towards expanding the cities. For freedom, one of our enemies for now defeated. The time has come to set out our broader foreign policy. One key issue is our relationship with the former masters of this land, the British. Ever since the fall of the Ottomans, they ruled over us, their arbitrary colonial rule only delaying our freedom and worsening conflicts. Some of the more belligerent within our country are unwilling to forgive this, seeing the British as the old enemy and therefore unworthy of any of our affections. On the other hand, others might see some pragmatic benefits from attention to reach out and rebuild ties. The British maintain a strong interest and presence in the Middle East, and our interest in security matters may often align. A new understanding is the way to move forward. We'll give that a little bit of a break. Meanwhile, let's get working towards the backbone of the labor economy. This is actually going to be huge, too, so we should probably get that kicked off. Well, let's get the backbone of the labor economy. Mapai is not just a Zionist enemy, but a socialist one, committed to collective and state ownership of large parts of the economy. To that end, Golda Meir's government is committed to a consolidation and expansion of the strength of the Histadrut, Israel's National Federation of Trade Unions, along with boosting state control over key areas of the economy. These policies will ensure that Israel's nascent economy works for the common good of its people. There we are. When we set out to rebuild ties with London, many were pessimistic that much could be achieved, but it seems a breakthrough has been made. British diplomats have signaled willingness to move forward with reconciliation, set out broader efforts of cooperation between our two countries. It seems this may be the start of a fruitful relationship. Perhaps we can find some common ground. Wonderful. Alright, industry we've caught up on. We have nothing to exploit industry-wise. We got brains. That's really about it. Alright. In the meanwhile, let's get support weapons. Research. Are we... Another domino knocked down. Are we able... I still don't fully understand how this works, I'll be honest. I had time to figure that out, but I haven't. The backbone of the labor economy. Let's expand the Aliyah program. And then we'll head down to eliminating the Maborot. In this world, in which which states all around us wish to see only the destruction of the Jewish people, we must fulfill our purpose in their refuge, as a refuge. Jews from anywhere fleeing persecution must be able to come to Israel safely. To that end, we must expand the infrastructure for taking in the refugees. Investments will be made so the state is able to further expand our capabilities in integrating and resettling our people from across the seas. Meanwhile, we're having issues in Gaza. Not shocking. Honestly, I'm a little bit more surprised that, should we lock in the Norwegian? Oh, that's rough. I mean, how are the Olim doing? The Olim are doing okay. The Mobberot will have to do. Oh, they're burning our crops now? I'll fuck them up. Our logistics doing. Got more artillery building up. I have no anti-tank built at all. That's unfortunate. Latvia won Eurovision. Why not? Sure. Hold on, we're not. Let's get artillery going. Add them to these guys. Get our 20 wits going. We can't properly reinforce them all yet, but we'll work on trying to. There we go. We got the Aliyah going. And next, let's eliminate the Mobberot. The Mobberot, large temporary refugee camps for new arrivals to the country, were useful and necessary, but have served their purpose. Conditions with them remain poor, and what was meant to be a temporary solution has been left to sit and deteriorate for too long. The time has come to give refugees within the country permanent homes and settlements, so the necessary resources will be set aside for dismantling of these temporary camps and the permanent resettling of refugees. There we go. We got Hawaiian statehood, second UN headquarters in China. Why not? We like China. China. We can get training on some guys. I suppose we might as well do so. I was wondering whether or not they were going to do any elections. The DLL, Rebuilding. Interesting. Sure. I suppose that works out for him. Let's go ahead and finish up this focus. That's rough. Yeah, I don't blame Poland for joining the Toronto Accord after that encroachment on their borders. Oh, we got that going. I'll select a focus real quick. Let's work on... Okay, yeah, so we can't support India. Fair enough. Well, we can look towards our greatest ally. America has one of, if not the largest Jewish diasporas worldwide, with many sympathetic or even outright sponsors of the Zionist cause. Thanks to our recent negotiations with American officials who now wish to expand our relationship, we can now turn to Washington for support, both financially and militarily, hoping to get in their good graces. Well, call us Sabrina Carpenter, how we're trying to get into good graces. None of you probably appreciate that, but I know my girlfriend would. Not that I think she watches these shitty videos anyway. Not that they're shitty. I like making them. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and leave things there, though. Thank you as always for watching, my friends. I hope you liked this video. If so, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you have any comments or feedback, leave in the comment section below. I read all comments I get, and I do appreciate any feedback you might have for me. Check out my various links down in the description box below. The sub button to keep up to date with these uploads as they come out weekdays and Saturdays. And yeah, I'm gonna head out for now. But I thank you always for watching. My name has been Mr. Dogweb333, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.